welcome back to Time to Talk. I am one of your hosts, Faith.
And I'm your other host, Grace.
Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We figured since we did record an episode about us as twins and sisters and friends, that we would kind of break it down and do individual interviews with each other. So today is going to be me asking Grace a lot of questions to kind of delve into her personality and the things she likes and doesn't like and the kind of person she is, so that hopefully at the end of this episode you all know a lot more about her. So to start things off, we are going to do some rapid fire questions just to loosen you up a bit and get you used to some of the really deep questions.
As long as they don't involve picking my favorite color palette.
Yes, because we already know how swimmingly that goes.
Mm-hmm.
So first, rapid fire, just say the thing that enters into your head, okay? Number 1, what is your favorite hobby?
Painting.
What is one thing that annoys you the most?
People wearing mismatched socks.
What is the strangest thing you've ever eaten?
Strangest food I've eaten would be Ethiopian, just because it's so different. Strangest food combination I've eaten, I have no idea.
What is your favorite thing about someone in your family?
But now I have to pick someone.
Just pick someone. No hard feelings.
Dad. No, Lane. We'll go with Lane. Favorite thing about Lane?
Yeah. Now she's going to go back to Dad.
Well, because I'm just trying to think of what my mind...
Just pick a favorite thing about someone in your family.
One of my favorite things about Dad is how great he is with people, even if they irritate him a lot.
What is one of your weirdest quirks?
But this is assuming that I find them quirks, which I don't, so...
You're not getting this rapid fire thing.
No, because, I'm bad at rapid fire normally anyway.
Just answer the question. What is a weird quirk that you have?
I don't know. I don't know what people find weird. I don't know what people say is a weird quirk about me.
Just give an answer to the question. What is something weird about yourself?
The fact that I think I hurt my pen's feelings.
Okay, yeah, we can go with that. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Creative, empathetic, and humble.
Wow. Look at you. You already think you have humility checked off.
Oh, no. I am rethinking that one now. I know.
No, you can't rethink
but
them.
I can't.
It's rapid fire.
You said rapid fire. This wasn't necessarily with super thought out, and I'm not
it
all
wasn't
of these
supposed
things
to
all
be.
the time.
You already put more thought into the answers than you were supposed to be.
Okay.
So we've got creative, empathetic, and humble. So when you describe yourself as empathetic, what does that mean?
That was kind of my way of trying to catch just the fact that not only am I think, a very relational person in how I function, but also I want to know everything I can about a person so that I can understand them and know them and then be the best friend I can possibly be to them. So empathy isn't just about understanding a problem someone's gone through so I can help them with a problem or just understand their perspective. For me, it's very much tied to how can I be the best person to you in this relationship.
So would you call yourself a people pleaser?
Oh, it definitely can become people pleasing, but it's not about pleasing them, it's about understanding. I mean, when people talk about like the 5 love languages and what their highest ones are, it's a way, they're telling you basically, here's what you can do if you want to show that you love me. And it has nothing to do with maybe their highest love language is your lowest one. That doesn't matter, because then if you truly want to show them how much you love them, you'll do their highest one. That's what I'm trying to get at when I say that empathy is about me being the best person for them that I can be. It's about understanding what they need from me as a friend, and then, as much as possible, being that for them, with the obvious understanding that things can change and everything's not stuck in cement once you figure that out, because people are constantly growing. I mean, that's another piece, is you're constantly getting more information about each other.
So paint us a picture of little Gracie and what you were like growing up.
Little Gracie? Normally only had a shirt on and a diaper. Was running around the house with my sisters. If we weren't for some reason singing and dancing, which almost all the time we were, it always involved singing and being loud and smiling the biggest smile. There's one evening that comes to mind of you and Paige. I don't know what you guys were doing. You were just being crazy. And I was being crazy with you guys for a little bit. And then I stopped. And Mom was sitting down on a rocking chair. And I just go over and I snuggle with her. And I just have like the stupidest grin on my face.
When did this happen?
Is
this something we have on video, or is this just a memory that you have?
No, it's something we have on video. And it's just, it's really cute. Because I guess that kind of paints the biggest picture of I was having a lot of fun with you guys, but I just dropped everything I was doing to go sit with her. And again, this doesn't describe me all, well, never mind, I won't go.
What were your favorite things to do as a kid?
Play Barbies with you all, draw, and or scrapbook with Mom when we would do that. Reading was fun. As we got older, but we're still kids, I loved like the boating that we would do as families. I liked playing Playmobil when we got older.
So were you an introverted kid?
100%.
Okay, when you think of yourself as an introvert, do you think that you were shy? Do you think that you just didn't have a lot of energy like other people had? Or is it sort of like what you were just describing, where you would be really energetic with certain people, but like you could see someone else kind of, on the outskirts a little bit, or just chilling, and you kind of would just navigate to that kind of person, like someone who's just calmer and more soothing, and so you kind of appreciated that environment?
I mean, I was definitely told a lot that I was shy, and so I think that it made me think I was more shy than I actually was sometimes. Overall, growing up, I think I was, unless it was with my family, even with closer friends, I still think I was more reserved than I am now. It wasn't something that necessarily I felt hindered by all the time, so like it wasn't a problem. What hung me up most as an introvert and just feeling like it was mostly the fact that I just felt like I was so bad at small talk and actually starting a relationship that it freaked me out trying to do that, because I could go 2 minutes talking to someone and then I just didn't know what to talk about if we weren't actually having this conversation started already. So that, and then in regards to going to other people, I think I was always wanting to make everyone feel included. And so knowing that I wasn't and I didn't want to be the life of the party, for me it was, how can I interact with the people I know, some people I don't know, and try and make everyone feel included in a small way without having to expend all of my energy doing that.
So do you have a life mission statement? Something that would include you wanting to, help other people or be there for other people or something like that as part of the purpose of your life? Because I know that's kind of the person you are, just someone who always puts others' needs before her own.
Yes, I have a statement-ish thing that comes to mind that I think is always driving me. It's not 100% nailed down and grammatically correct, but I think for me, it's always this idea of creating belonging and community with other people and a space where they feel comfortable and like they can be themselves. And just given what I'm interested in, what I'm good at, and what I've seen creates those spaces, a lot of that has to do with, people experiencing a sense of beauty and goodness and connection with people, and art can be involved, or writing, or conversations. I've always had a dream of this big round table.
Wow, we're bringing back Arthur and his nights, aren't we?
But it is in my head. I just said round table because it can also be a banquet table. a really long table. It's just a large table.
It's a massive
It's
table.
a very
Okay.
large table. And while I have many things that I don't like about round tables, the one thing I like about them is that everybody can see everybody else.
Okay.
So maybe that's why it's a round table. But it's just this image of a table where people from all different backgrounds, all different ethnicities, all different ages come together and just can enjoy. In my mind, it normally involves like a really good meal. But just,
So is hospitality something that's very important to you?
yes.
When you think of hospitality, what does that mean to you? Because I know some people just think, oh, hospitality is you host a lot of dinner parties or something. But I know you have a deeper idea of hospitality than that.
Hospitality can happen all the time. It doesn't just involve inviting people over to your house or an event that you've planned. Hospitality means making whomever you have in that context of an event. It means making all of your guests feel seen and welcomed, in my mind, and that you leave them in a space where they feel comfortable and that they can be flourishing in that moment and truly enjoying that moment. And so it's kind of, I guess it's maybe not the best analogy, but I kind of think of it as like everyone else there is a bee and you're like queen bee, and like having to tell everyone where to go and what to do in a gracious way that nobody's realizing kind of what you're doing. So it's hospitality is it's the responsibility of making sure that everyone you invite, one, they're invited for a reason, and I don't think you should just invite people because you feel bad and that you have to invite them. Saying this because I probably would do that. But actually intentionally creating the environment that you know everyone's going to feel welcome to. And then in general, I think that's a spirit you can take about, I try and take with me everywhere, of just wanting to make people feel welcomed and seen, whether that's me just going and having a conversation with them or trying to pull them into a different conversation or introduce them to someone else and start that or something like that.
Which that desire comes from what you were saying earlier about wanting people to have a place to belong and a place to connect.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I need to say that again. A place to belong and a place to connect.
Yeah, it's about drawing them into a space, whether it's physical or just kind of this, mental, emotional space that they can just be themselves and they don't have to worry about something.
Do you find yourself able to be present in situations, especially with people?
Sometimes. I
Give me
think
more.
so. If we're defining presence as being truly in the moment with them, that's why I would say sometimes, because I do know that it's my tendency to get in my head, and it's not always a bad thing of, am I pleasing this person or blah blah blah. It's not always that. It's like I described with that host or hostess, is that sometimes it's not always your responsibility to actually be engaged in those conversations that are happening, but to be kind of over them and making sure that everyone else is where they need to be and where's best for them. And so some of those questions arise in my head a lot of the time of just, am I being the person am I saying the things that this person needs to hear right now? Am I doing the things that this person needs done right now? Or is there someone else I can direct them to who they would connect with better? Oftentimes if I'm thinking of, like at school, if there's a new student who's just come on, yes, I want to introduce myself and I want to be able to answer questions and help them if they need help. But oftentimes I'm looking, who else can I introduce them to who I think they maybe are going to click with better, connect with better, and who can truly help them along even more than I can beyond just answering questions. So I think that's a lot of the times that's what prevents me from being truly present as well, is that I'm always thinking, what is this person needing right now? Am I the person who can meet those needs, or can someone else do it better, and how can I initiate that?
So you would identify more with Martha in the story of Mary and Martha in the Bible, do you think?
Yes.
which is not a bad thing.
I mean, I probably wouldn't complain about Mary not working, but
She would think it. You would begrudge her in your head.
Yeah, it would.
You might not actually go up to Jesus and be like, "Hey, get this lady in line."
No, it would go one of two ways, and one of the ways would be, yes, me thinking, what am I missing out on? Because they all seem to be having a great time with Jesus, and I'm back here in the kitchen. Then the other part of me would be, that's my role as a hostess, is they're all going to have a conversation, and I'm going to be getting things ready, and then I can join them later.
So do you feel that that is something that keeps you from actually enjoying people as people, is this constant pressure and sense of responsibility that you have to make sure their needs are met?
Yeah. Again, we're talking in generalities here, so it's not always the case. But yes, I do. It's always, just like I'm always kind of scanning the room and scanning the people for where are they at emotionally right now, what's their state of mind at the present moment, to kind of judge how I need to approach them, because it's great to be happy and joyful, but sometimes you do need to maybe tone it down just a little bit if you're interacting with someone, and help bring them up to that level, versus if you're feeling really sad and depressed, okay, what are things you need to do to maybe meet other people? So I guess what I'm saying with all of that is that I'm more focused on how I'm approaching another person in the ways I can change that to meet them where they are, versus expecting them to meet me where I am. And so it's little things like that where it's not necessarily that I can't enjoy a person for just who they are. It's that there are times I don't think I'm truly with them and present with them in that moment and enjoying that moment, because I am in my head.
So I want to go back to the hospitality discussion that we were having. Do you have a dream event that you would host? Would you...
Good
I know
question.
you mentioned painting being a hobby. I know that you are an artist, and we can talk about that later. So would the event be some sort of art opening, or would you take everybody on a cruise, or what would the dream event be for you to host?
I don't know if I've ever thought of a dream event like that. Because, to your point about the art, I have hosted a couple, and I want to do more and keep doing more painting parties, or just nights to get together with my other girlfriends and just create things. I want to do those, and I love doing those because it is a way to interact and be creative, which oftentimes leads to slightly different conversations than just a normal sit-down dinner.
And always terrible paintings. Always terrible paintings.
Sometimes. But that's just part of it's fun. It's part of the process. So, I mean, I've always thought of those. Yes, one day I do want to have my own gallery. I guess I've never... That one's been...
Don't focus on the art gallery. I was simply asking if you had a dream event, which it would make sense that you don't have an answer, because your focus is definitely more on what would people like, not necessarily planning something.
No, and at the end of the day, it all comes back to that table, which I somewhat described poorly when I was attempting to describe it, but it's very vivid in my head, and it's not even a singular event. It's just literally this idea of how can I bring together people from all different backgrounds, all different races, all different ages, and create a space where we can just have conversations.
So is your focus more on smaller, intimate gatherings, or is that your cup of tea?
I personally enjoy those more, so I do think I gravitate more towards those. I'm not opposed to larger gatherings. It's just those tend to come with a lot more stress, and especially for me, who wants to know where everyone is and if they're enjoying where they are right now. So if I were hosting something, if I'm actually trying to mentally plan something, I don't really ever go past 15.
See, you would have been a perfect French hostess when they had the parlors. Back during...
Oh, trust me. I always think about how nice it would be if people just went calling nowadays, or I had a parlor, and just things like that.
So do you have a list of people that you would want to invite to something? Dead or alive, any age, from any time, anywhere? Give a list. I know you have a list of like your dream dinner guests.
Yes, I do. So if we go with that, this is mostly dead people.
It's okay.
It's mostly dead people. But yes, I would love to have like C.S. Lewis to dinner, G.K. Chesterton, Dorothy Sayers. And this is just slowly turning into a British dinner party.
British authors, that's all it is.
Because I was going to say George MacDonald and then Charles Dickens. I think I would like to have, if this is my author dinner, so we're just doing everybody. But I would like to throw John Steinbeck into that group. And kind of Edith Wharton, maybe. And Fitzgerald, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and Hemingway.
So Hemingway. Books clearly mean a lot to you.
Yes.
And I know we did an episode on what we're reading, so we discussed this a little bit. But do you remember when you first fell in love with books?
From the instant I could read.
So you don't remember a time when you didn't like books?
No, and I think even before that, when I couldn't read, I would see our older sister reading, and I wanted to.
So if you think about the reasons for why you enjoy reading, or why you do read, what are the top ones that come to mind?
Because you get to see the world through other people's eyes and just their stories. Whether that's a fiction book, a nonfiction book, historical. I just think it's fascinating to read other people's thoughts and just knowing how much work people have put into these and the blood, sweat, and tears literally sometimes. And even if I may not enjoy a book, I always appreciate how much work someone has gone into just sitting down and actually crafting their thoughts in a way that they can communicate something to another person.
So what draws you into a book most? Is it the plot? Is it the time period, the setting, the characters?
It depends. All of the books, because, so we'll just go with like nonfiction, biographies, history, and fiction. All of those ones that actually have characters, I think the very first thing that draws me in is the character or the person that the book is about. The second thing would be the pacing. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with the plot, but it's oftentimes the pacing of the book, of whether the way the author chooses to tell the story engages me. And it's hard to explain what I find engaging sometimes, just in one that's a really broad category still. But definitely the characters. If there's a character, that's what draws me in most. Then depending on the book, I do find with history, a lot of the times it is the setting and just when that story takes place that I think draws me in a lot of the times. Because I know we've mentioned on like our third episode or something on war or maybe in our movies, I like the Holocaust and World War II and kind of wars in general and just big events in human history. And so if it happens to be around those, like I just finished reading a book about Poland in the Middle Ages after they were invaded several times. And I find those historic pieces fascinating.
Do you like knowing what makes people tick?
Yes.
And it inspires you to get up in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
What else inspires you to get up in the morning? Beyond coffee, because coffee gets everyone up in the morning. Coffee and the sun and the alarm. Beyond all of those things.
Oh my goodness.
What really motivates you, Grace, to live each day fully?
That's assuming I live each day fully.
We're going to be on the upside here. We'll think of the positives.
I know.
I didn't ask you what makes you roll out of bed with a groan. I asked you what makes you jump out.
What motivates me to get up in the morning is wanting to connect with life. Which, it sounds weird, but it kind of goes back to being present with things. I always want to connect with things and just feel them. So whether that's like connecting with my body and, whether that's I'm moving or I'm just like, oh, hey, my leg's asleep and I shouldn't be in this position. So just being more mindful of my body, or just connecting with another person. And a lot of the times that's about, how can I bless another person today? Or for the people I really, the people closest to me, I want to make them feel a community and not alone or isolated in their world. And so at the end of the day, it comes down to connecting with nature and the world God's created, or the people he's made who I have a privilege of knowing and just being friends with, or connecting with my coworkers and my mentor, and just being able to have fun conversations with them and work conversations with them, and feeling satisfied at the end of the day with the work I've done for them, and that I've actually helped the team. And it's, yeah, I understand what it means. It's kind of hard to explain, but it really is, at the end of the day, it's about a sense of connecting with life.
How do you most easily express yourself? What medium do you gravitate to most?
Writing and art. And then I just have to throw song and dance on there.
So taking those 3.5, 4-ish things, when you say writing, is it journaling? Is it an actual writing that someone else would read? What type of writing do you do? What do you enjoy about it?
I do journaling a lot, just because that's a way to get my thoughts out of my head, and it helps me. But then I've also had times where, I don't write I used to keep a journal in the sense of it was a diary, and I didn't really want people reading it. But now I've journaled a lot more, and I've let people read it because it actually helps them understand me, because there are so many times where I'm just like, I don't know how to say this, so I'm just going to write it and you can read it and then it'll make sense. So for me, journaling just helps a lot in that regards, and I do it a lot. I also find that just that act of getting my thoughts out helps me in a lot of other ways. So whether or not it ever ends up being shown to another person, I will journal about books I'm reading or movies I've watched or conversations I've had, just to kind of work through them myself. And then maybe I'll, with those new reframed, more organized thoughts, then I can actually have conversations with people. And sometimes I do enjoy, people will think I'm weird, but yes, I did enjoy all of the essays that we wrote in school and the research papers we did, because I'm weird, but I like those things.
Not weird. There are people who like English.
Okay, yes.
There are people who major in English. There are people who teach English.
Yes. So most of the writing I actually do ends up being journaling now. I used to write a lot more essay things, and I still try and blog more. Was that the only one I was supposed to be answering?
That was the one I asked you about right now, was okay. The writing and what draws you to it. So I'm curious, we being homeschooled, it was a thing when you kind of reached high school age that all of our friends were writing books. It was the craze, just like silly bands were a thing for a while, which...
That's assuming people actually waited to high school to say that.
Well, yes, basically what I'm saying is it was a thing to be an aspiring author.
Oh, for the longest time it was, I'm writing a book.
Right. And you happen to be, not for the reasons of popularity or anything, because you didn't really share it with many people, but you were writing a book for a while, and you had characters figured out and you had a storyline. Where is that? Did you stop writing that, or is it just kind of always tucked away in the back drawer?
It's tucked away in the back drawer. I think I will pull it out. I wrote 2 full chapters of it, and then there were just pieces of the book, whether that was a couple paragraphs or like an entire another chapter just somewhere random. I still know the story, and I wrote the entire story out and how I wanted to have it, and I had my characters, and my characters were named, and I knew them pretty well. But I knew it wasn't time to tell the story, which is also why I didn't share it, because I think that's what draws me so much to writing, is that challenge of knowing when it's time to share something with someone else, in terms of if you're not necessarily journaling, but if you're writing even an essay or a creative piece, is you can overthink it and not share something with people for the longest time because you want it to be perfect. But if you're just going at it from this angle of crafting the best story and the story that needs to be told, I didn't feel like it was time to tell that story. And maybe it never will be. It's always going to be with me. And I hope one day it may be a story.
So let's pivot the conversation to art, because I know that's another major way that you express yourself. So just talk about that, what you like about it, things that you find yourself painting, art inspirations, favorite artist, anything art.
Okay, anything, wow.
Minus, don't be didactic here and be like, people, you don't understand art and blah, 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 and this is what it means and this is what it should be.
We'll save that for my
educational
podcast.
piece for later, yes.
Yes, it can be saved for later. No, I have always loved art and just drawing and those kinds of things from a very young age. I don't think my true love of art came until high school, and we were in an art appreciation class, and when I actually understood the history and the technique and the story behind a lot of these pieces and these artists, that it really opened my eyes to that entire world, and I instantly fell in love with it. And so even now I feel like I have an even deeper appreciation for art and creating than I did. I guess in terms of what draws me, I have several galleries in my head of things I want to paint, ranging from more nature, landscape art to abstract pieces. And a lot of them some of them have to do with experiences I've had that other people have had, and just trying to get that sense of awe and wonder at the beauty that God's created. Some of them have to do with expressing hard truths about life that I think everyone resonates with too. I guess that's what draws me most into art, is this idea that in one image, someone can share. Maybe it's just one thought, but a lot of the times it's more than one. But it takes so much skill to compact even part of your worldview and belief system into one image. And I think the truly great artists do that so well, and oftentimes so subtly. And I think that's what I'm always striving for in the big pieces I want to create, is this: how can it be more than just an image? How can it be a way to communicate truth, beauty, and goodness to other people and have a connection with them?
So who are your most favorite artists?
So some of my favorite artists would have to be a lot of those in the Dutch Renaissance, and just the landscapes and the portraits and the still lives. The notable names that I think people would be familiar with would be Rembrandt or Vermeer.
Vermeer's my favorite, right?
Yes. If anyone knows the girl with the pearl earring, that's Vermeer's painting.
Isn't he also the one who paints the girl who looks out the window in the kitchen?
The milkmaid, yes.
That's my favorite.
That's him too. He did a lot of those just life scenes, I guess is what you would call them. So definitely Vermeer and Rembrandt. I love, if you go more southern, I think, it's somewhat cliche, but I do love Da Vinci and Michelangelo's works. There's a reason they were masters. I kind of like, he's less familiar, but some of the works by Giovanni are really cool too. Completely different. I can't think of names off the top of my head, but there are several of the Byzantine Empire mosaic pieces that I find astonishing and just gorgeous. I think moving earlier, a lot of the Impressionist artists, so Monet, Degas, I love their work and the way they were able to capture this idea of light and what light looks like and how we perceive things with our eyes. I find that fascinating. And then there's David, who, I don't know if you know any of his.
The name is familiar, but I don't.
What's the painting? It's the Code of Something, but it's this painting with these 3 guys with swords.
It's the Roman soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I know exactly.
Yeah, his was very much, he was kind of in that neoclassical period where a lot of the Renaissance realist was, so he's definitely one of the more of a realist artist, but I love his works. I'm blanking out on the name, but there's an American landscape artist that I really love too. I cannot remember his name. But then there are some more modernist. It's not my favorite art, so in terms of favorite artist, they still make the list in the sense of I appreciate the art they have done, and I still find it fascinating in the grand scheme of art. And like Picasso would have to make that list. Gauguin would have to make that list. Matisse would make the list. Jackson Pollock would make the list.
Do you have any living artist inspirations? Anybody that you currently follow in the art world?
There's a woman I follow. Her name's Anne Rose Bain. I think that's her name. I know her last name's Bain. But I follow her. She paints a lot more. She paints more portraits of... Portraits is not quite the right word because it's not actually sitting down and painting a person all the time. But it's people. She paints a lot of people in a very, very soft, realistic style. And I love hers. There's another person who, he's a guy. I cannot remember his name right now. But yes. And then...
What does he paint? Does he paint? Is he a painter? Or okay.
His are a lot more landscape ones. He also does a lot of barn scenes and just building scenes in spaces. And... yeah, then I follow some other people who do more abstract stuff. Is
your favorite artistic medium painting specifically?
No. Yes and no. It's the one I spend a lot more time in, but I like them all.
And by all, list out some of the ones so people kind of get a feel of...
like artistic mediums like acrylic, oil, watercolor, pastel, chalk.
I meant like sculpture, architecture,
like even broader. So yeah, so if we get out of those, I guess, mediums that you put on paper or canvas, then yes, it would be the sculptures, pottery, mosaics, frescoes, the weird earth art, basically, is what I'm gonna call it. Whether it's what's his name? You know him.
Are you talking about the people who, like, during the modernist period who would, like, use... I'm thinking about, there was that one wife and husband group who went and created that thing with the islands down south. I don't know, in Florida or someplace, and it was like this temporary thing. I don't know anything beyond. It was the weirdest thing ever.
But I'm not. They come to mind, but when I'm saying
there's
earth art,
this guy who does almost like a Fibonacci type
that's
of
the guy I'm talking about.
And
his last name starts with a G. I'm pretty sure.
It's really cool what he does. He like spends hours taking all of these things.
That's what I'm talking about when I say earth art. Yeah. Is the people who literally will go into a space and he's done it on beaches with a branch that he drags across, and
or he's done it like in the dead winter with ice.
Yes. So where they literally go into an environment and they will use objects and create something. So I'm thinking him.
So we need to in our show notes. We need to make sure that we link these people and show ideas.
I'm so frustrated that I can't remember his name right now, because I'm gonna read it and be like, yeah, duh, that's his nim.
As with many things in life.
Yes,
but you'll be like, what is that watchamacallit? Oh, a knife. That's what I was thinking.
Yes. So him definitely.
So I want to ask you this too, because I know another thing that you like, another artistic medium, is photography.
Mm-hmm.
And you've mentioned this before in our We Are the Twins episode, where you were joking about the fact that on family vacations you were always 500 feet behind because you were taking pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, when you think about art and photography, what is the difference between what is the difference between them, and the reason why you like each of them, in that art is something that you are creating, something entirely new, whereas photography is a picture of something that already exists? Why are you drawn to each? What are the differences that you appreciate in each? And do they connect to you differently too?
They do. a lot of it goes back to what you were just saying of photography. A lot of the times that scene exists and the photographer didn't make it exist. And that even applies to ones where it's a family photos or portraits of someone. The environment typically exists. And let's be honest, who really likes the in-studio family photos? I feel like it's literally just a way to get a semi-decent picture of your family without a goofy smile.
It's just
or
to make sure
bad
that
glare.
everyone is on their best behavior, so you at least get one
Yes.
photo where everyone is smiling.
Yes. So when we're talking about artistic photography and someone who's actually doing that, a lot of it is about capturing a moment in time. It's literally a little time capsule. Whereas art is about capturing a worldview in an image. It's about, yes, it can be a scene similar to photography, but it requires more thought, more intention, and it requires more of an artist than I think photography does. Not that photography was lesser than art. It's just, I'm trying to think of it.
In a way,
parallel.
it's like a photo is observing the story that's going on around you, whereas an artistic piece, like a painting, is you crafting your own story from the pieces.
Kind of, if you take it that way, it's the photographer is in a sense almost like they observe it and they capture the special moments. Whereas an artist is both observing and then responding to the situation in their art. Whether it's actually literally a response, Picasso has one where he's responding to a boat wreck, and the way he paints it is his response to that tragedy, right? As an artist. But that applies in general to pieces that an artist is creating. I think it's not a reaction, it's a response to the world around them and how they see it. And so it does, which is why I think it requires more contemplation and skill from an artist, and the truly great artists have mastered the ability to do that and to respond in ways that draw other people in. Because that's the tricky part with, I think, both of them is, as a creator, your tendency sometimes is to create the things that you want to see, which can be great because there are probably other people who want to see those things too. But your responsibility is also to create things that can draw other people and lift other people up into an experience of beauty and truth and goodness for themselves. And so when you're painting or when you're taking a photo, in some sense it needs to already have the universality pieces in mind and not just peculiar individual things. And I feel to a certain extent photography can easily do that at times, just because, if you're taking a picture of, let's say, the Grand Canyon, lots of people go there, so lots of people have had that experience of the first time they see it. Whereas, I'm just going to bring it up because I brought it up, whereas Picasso painting something about the tragedy of that boat wreck and how many people lost their lives, people can also relate to that in a different way, in the sense of just losing someone and the grief and the fear that happens around that and the anxiety, and especially in that time of travel and how dangerous it can be. I feel like I'm kind of going in rabbit trails in circles about these kind of differences, but I guess just at the end of the day, it comes down to art, I think, takes more effort from a creator in actually shaping a response to the world around them, versus a photographer, for the most part, is creating a story, is capturing a moment in a story that's happening around them.
Art is a very individual expression in the sense that it takes from the artist's own experiences and their own feelings and thoughts on something. It's them pouring themselves out on a canvas versus photography.
Yes, the artist is taking something from in their head and putting it out for the world to see. The photographer is taking something from the world that other people can see and saying, this is how I see it and how maybe it should be seen.
Mm-hmm. Which obviously both have their value in their place in the art world and in our lives. So for you, what is one of your favorite pieces that you've created?
I think my favorite piece thus far was an acrylic painting I did for one of our instructors of this cliffside with a really narrow road and this man in a golden chariot with a horse, with 2 horses, racing down this road. And there's a reason is because, it had a lot of backstory to it, but it also challenged me as an artist at that time because I hadn't ever painted something like that. And then the other piece was I was able to then gift it to the instructor because I knew it would have meaning to him too.
Because the painting is based on the last chapter of a book by G.K. Chesterton, and that book means a lot to you, and it meant a lot to our instructor, and so you created this painting based off of that image in the book.
Yeah. Well, and it wasn't. The reason I gifted it to him was because we had just spent an entire semester going through that book as a class, but beyond that, it had more weight for me because it was a culmination of 2 years of schooling as well.
So we're going to pivot out of art, and I'm just curious, in general, what is something that you can't go a day without doing?
Drinking coffee.
Okay, we got the kind of silly, trivial answer. Now give me the deeper answer.
I don't like going a day without learning something new. And whether that's as simple as practicing one of the 3 different languages I'm attempting to learn at the moment, or reading something or having a conversation with someone and just learning more about them. I don't like going a day without there being something new.
What is a habit that you are currently trying to develop?
Better sleep schedule. I laugh about that, but honestly, that is
it's very important. Sleep's important.
It is literally the one I have been trying to work on, because I'm like, I know for me, 8 is the most hours I ever get, and then I just feel groggy afterwards. 7 is like my happy place, and so when you get consistently between 5.5 and 6.5, I can manage. But I would really like to be more towards 7 and 7.5. So I'm trying to get there, and I think it's what I'm working on. Another answer, because that one, I don't know, it's important, but it's also kind of lame. I don't know. Another habit I think I'm trying to get is creating something every day. So whether that's doing a photo challenge for myself, or writing something every day, or painting or drawing something every day, I'm working on spending those 5 to 15 minutes every day just making something.
What is one thing that you would change about yourself? Your sleep schedule?
I was gonna try and do something deeper.
It doesn't have to be deep. Just think of something. This is for you. This question is more just...
If there was one thing I could change about myself instantly, right now, it would probably be how concerned I am with people's reaction to me.
Okay. So this question might go in line with that of, when you're alone, what do you think about most?
How much I suck at life. I'm kind of joking, but also that's true. If I'm alone, it depends on the mood I'm in, whether I'm going to gravitate more towards positive or negative. But yes, a lot of my alone time is spent contemplating life and relationships and things I'm doing and want to be doing. And if it's negative, it's how I'm not doing them, and I'm just awful, and I will never make anything. And if it's positive, it's how can I get to where I want to be and do the things I want to do. And actually, one of the things I was thinking last night was just this whole idea of you make time for the things that you love. And for me, a lot of that revolves around actually, how do I make the time without then feeling guilty for making the time?
What is something people generally get wrong about you?
Thinking that I'm always introverted. And then they'll make comments of like, what happened to you today? I'm like, no, I was just happy today.
Is it wrong to be happy?
I know. And I'm like, yes, I may be slightly more extroverted and outgoing than you are used to, but I have those days. So, and I feel that about both introverts and extroverts and people who fall more along the lines of the middle of just people putting you in a box. And the reality is an extrovert can be a lot more introverted one day and an introvert can be a lot more extroverted one day. And it happens on situations too and people you're interacting with. So definitely people thinking I'm always introverted.
What is something that makes you laugh? Beyond me, because that's the obvious answer. Or yourself, I guess you could laugh at yourself. I'm just more funny.
Wow.
Hey, you're the one who started this interview saying, I'm humble. Self-described humility. So I can self-describe as humorous.
Lots of my friends make me laugh.
Good, at least you didn't say stupid cat videos.
No, not stupid cat videos. No, definitely not. I don't watch stupid cat videos because, again, they're stupid cat videos.
So people make you laugh?
Yes, lots of my friends make me laugh because lots of my friends have a very good sense of humor.
Thank you.
Which is, yes, you're included in that.
I know I'm included in this.
Something that just in general makes me laugh? Me? I mean, I do make myself laugh a lot. I guess, I'll when I'm listening to music. A lot of times.
Okay, so I'm going to do another rapid fire round of questions before we end out this episode. So
maybe I'll be better at this one.
You will. These questions are easier.
Okay.
Texting or talking?
Talking.
Favorite day of the week?
Friday.
Favorite city in the U.S. besides the one you live in? Just pick one. You can't hurt a city's feelings.
I'm just thinking of the cities I've actually gone to, though.
Well, you don't have to have gone there. Just favorite city.
Pass because I don't know.
Favorite small town?
Estes Park or Boulder, Colorado. Or Durango or Flagstaff.
Okay, so she likes Arizona or Colorado. Nickname your parents used to call you that doesn't apply to, well, Gracie. I guess we said it.
Gracie was my only nickname.
There you go. Last song you downloaded or listened to?
Last song I listened to, Follow Me by Andrea Bocelli. Last song I downloaded was an album by the Vamps.
Would you rather be able to speak every language in the world or be able to talk to animals?
Every language in the world.
Favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving or Christmas.
How long does it take you to get ready?
Quickly, I can get ready in 15 minutes. If I need to actually be ready, it's 20 to 30 minutes.
You know when it's a double ready, that it's very serious what's going on.
If I need to be more ready for the day, it's 20 to 30 minutes. If I need to be ready, it's an hour. And then if I need to be ready, like for a wedding, it's apparently the entire morning.
Yeah. Especially if you're in the wedding. Scale of 1 to 10, how good of a driver are you?
I think I'm probably a 7.
At what age do you want to retire? I don't like that question.
Pass.
That question's just on here.
That's way too much beyond that of like why I would say I'm not sure I would ever want to retire.
So let's change the question. At what age do you want to stop working and just do whatever you want with your life? Assuming that you can't already do that, but
whenever it feels right.
Invisibility or super strength?
Invisibility.
Okay, that's all my questions. So
that's it. Okay.
Well,
I actually had fun with those ones.
I know. Well, we've been recording for just over an hour now. So unless there's something else that you want to leave our listeners with, some tidbit of advice, a little snippet about who you are and what means the most to you. What's your favorite drink?
Water, green tea, hot, and plain, and coffee.
What is your favorite thing that comforts you?
A hug.
What's your favorite taste?
Okay, no, that was out of left field.
Welcome to the ball game, sweetheart.
A really good ball.
Where I know none of the rules, but I know how to throw a ball.
Oh my gosh. No. when you just said tidbit, the first thing that popped in my head was, be yourself, because everybody else is taken. Which, anyway.
It's not a bad piece of advice, and coming from you, it makes sense, because I think you being perceptive of other people, like, can recognize the intricacies of other people. So, like, you see how unique everybody is, so it's very important to you.
I know.
For other people to see
say
that.
it jokingly just because it's kind of cliche. But
cliches have a lot of truth. That's why they're cliches.
That's why they're cliches. The other thing I was what is it's the Dr. Seuss's something you, the only you who is you.
Oh, like, yeah, be you, the only you can be. No one's youer than you. I just totally butchered that.
Yeah,
but it ends with something like,
yes.
you're like, no one can be youer than you, or something.
Yeah, something like that. Then, this is my new just movie quote that pops in my head all the time now is, make a plan, execute the plan, expect the plan to go off the rails, throw away the plan.
And there you go. This is why Grace does not plan.
No, this is why I plan, but this is everything I hate about planning, is the expect the plan to go off the rails and throw away the plan. I'm slightly better at that than you are, but...
Yes, I hold on to plans like it's life and death. And with that, we have come to the end of this episode. If you have enjoyed this conversation, we will be posting on Instagram at Time to Talk. Go follow us there. Look at the show notes too, so you can find all the artists and authors and everything that Grace has mentioned.
And the more that I didn't mention, probably.
And we hope later down the road too to record a Q&A episode where we answer your questions, so it's not just my questions being asked of Grace, but we'll both together answer your questions. Mm-hmm. So go DM us on Instagram. We'll probably post a story about it too, and leave us questions there so that we can record that episode in the future.
And you ask us any questions either about ourselves or things that I've mentioned. And if you've enjoyed this episode and all of our previous ones, if you would go leave a rating and review, that would be awesome, so that more people could hear about Time to Talk, share it with your friends, and we look forward to you listening to the next episode.
And until then, cue the cool music.